Hello to all the teachers. We're going to take a look at removing and re-enrolling a student when you're trying to get them out of a CRX course. Some of you, I know Mrs. Poisson in particular has been doing this quite a bit, so she probably doesn't even really need it, but I do want you all to be aware of what I think we're moving to a new stage, and I'm going to explain why. CRX does have a purpose. We have a lot of students here. Here you see a couple that are enrolled in CRX, and that was done a lot of times because we weren't, there's always a little gray area with the placement test about sometimes we back them up a little bit. We want to give the student a chance to move ahead quickly, and it has done so, and it has been very beneficial for some students in certain cases. And there are some students I'm still going to leave it on because I think they're still benefiting from it. But we have some students that are moving beyond the CRX, and it does cause another issue, which I wasn't aware of in the training. If they said it, I didn't catch it. And that is getting assignments done in a timely fashion. And I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. So not picking on a student, but we're going to take a look at Grant in American history. If you take a look right here, he has completed, nearly completed the first 3 units. He's working on the 3rd unit. He's 91%. I'm going to open this unit up. Now he's got a CRX. Now on the CRX, he got a 32 on national expansion. Now, what's interesting is, and as we're closing in on the 2nd quarter and people have been asking me about honor roll and stuff like that, this is how this came out. Why some students seem to be a little behind. And in talking to Viewpoint, I think he's right on. You have to be careful with CRX, and this is why. If you notice, for instance, in this case, he completed assignment 11. It was due on the 13th. He got it done on the 14th. So he got it, he's a day late, all right? He was a little behind. Notice the next assignment, the quiz, in this case, number 13. There's a project which was skipped. The quiz wasn't due till January 10th. Now, in his defense, he did it early, probably the way he's looking at it. He did it January 4th. This is also due January 10th. It's the 6th. I'm guessing he'll probably do this before he gets to the 10th. So on his screen, he is showing that he is on track. Now, when I asked about this, because I wasn't aware that this is something that can happen with CRX, and Adam Rondo did a great job explaining to me. He says if there is a other side of CRX, CRX is extremely good if you have a student that you want to have get caught up and you think they have a pretty good chance of skipping units or every other unit or something like that. And I have seen this and it's still going on. But when Ignitia goes to schedule the assignments, it doesn't know when these are going to be done because they're CRX. It has no idea how to calculate it. So the calculation can be thrown off and you can have some gaps. And if a student isn't aggressive, now he said it's still good. What you really got to do is you got to explain to the students, they got to do an assignment in every subject every day. And if they do that, they'll be fine. And almost to some degree, ignore the dates. I mean, just look at them a little bit, but ignore the dates. Don't worry about if it says this isn't due to the 10th. You know, technically, like in this case, Grant should have probably tested on the 5th, but he didn't. All right. And again, I'm not picking on Grant, but I'm just using this as an example. Let's take a look at another one. Let's take a look at his English. His English, he has done 2 units, 73% with the 2nd unit. If you look at the 2nd unit, notice his start date, October 6th. If you go down here, he just completed, this unit was due on the 23rd. He got it on the 15th. He opened it, I should say, and he completed it on the 29th. So he started it early, ended it late. It took 3 attempts on it. His next project isn't due till January 10th. His quiz isn't due till March 7th. and his test isn't due till April 25th. Again, this has to do with CRX and how it is trying to calculate what he has left to do. So what this doesn't mean is CRX is no good. What this means is it is really important that a student does an assignment every day. Now, interestingly, as I have been checking honor roll, most of the younger students are in a very good position to get honor roll. There's one or two cases where there might be a subject, and I've been told a lot of times it's language or math, and that could be for another reason beyond just CRX. Language and math, the assignments can be longer, and sometimes I've been told they might have a hard time getting that 5th unit in because it might be a little bit late. And I'm going to kind of stop there on that one. We might need to talk about that a little bit more. So, but for the most part, looking at Leighton Giselskis, she is doing very well, and she's pretty much made honor roll. She has CRX, and she's running in the same things, but she's not obviously looking at her days. She must be just getting on and doing something every day. The older kids are probably paying attention to the dates a little bit more. So what are we going to do about it? I've gone through and I've reviewed quickly this afternoon the students, and I've got a list written down of students that I'm going to be switching them out of CRX. We've already started this process. Mrs. Poisson's done quite a few. Some I don't know if Mrs. Church has, and I don't think Mrs. DeCroft has. Here is how you're going to tell that I am planning on switching a student out. If you look at Grant, in this case, his American history, he's working on his 3rd unit, 91%. He basically just had a project and a quiz, so he hopefully will be completing it maybe next week. I have skipped the rest of the units in this course. Now, what's going to happen when he tests out of this unit, the teacher, in this case, it would be Mrs. Church, is going to get a notification that the course is complete. We can also keep tabs as we're monitoring the students. And if you have a feeling he's going to test, then maybe that the next morning you get up and you re-enroll him. And what we'll do is when he tests out, we will then archive this course, and we will re-enroll him. And Mrs. Poisson knows about this. And we will start him. We will skip the first 3 in a non-CRX course, and we will start him at number 4. All right, so that is how you can tell. Now, if you look at English, the same thing. You can see I've skipped everything after 2. So after he completes this English base, we will archive the CRX course, and we will enroll him in English 3 and start him at Unit 3. Now, you can go through and I'll do Grant because Mrs. DeCroft hopefully will see this. I just did this for Grant, by the way. So this is how it's going to look on the other side. Grant just finished Bible, looking at the pretest and everything. I mean, he was doing okay. We probably could have left this one, but he almost looks like he doesn't need it. He seems to be working fairly well. I mean, he's already got 7 done, and he wasn't necessarily pre-testing out of a lot of them. So he was just he was getting fairly high scores, and he's been moving pretty quick. So what I have done is I have archived the Bible CRX course, and I've enrolled him in Bible 400 without the CRX. I have skipped what he has done, and I have, when he, it's going to be seamless to him when he goes in tomorrow, or the next day that he's working, he will immediately have an assignment ready for him, and it will be Unit 8. And he is not going to run into the gapping situation. Okay. Now, the downside is he can't test out of this either. So again, I think we have to go by a case-by-case basis. I was looking at, I won't get into the names, but I have a couple of the Tremblay boys because I'm not sure I can repeat it right. I actually am removing the CRX on some of their courses, and I'm keeping it on the others because they're testing out of stuff. And it is helping them. They have gotten quite a few paces done because of it. So hopefully this makes sense. what you need to look out for is if you go into a student, and I will skip right down and let's see if I can find one, Noah in his history, all right? After he completes Unit 5, we are going to archive this CRX course and re-enroll him in the same course without the CRX and start him at number 6. Now, the important part is if you do that, you have to record this score or I will lose it. Because once you archive it, I can't see the score. So what Mrs. Poisson has been doing is she goes in, and what we want is the relative score, basically. All right. You want what's called the relative or the unit score, because that's what I will record, as opposed to let's go into this one. As opposed to he got an 87 on the test. I don't record that. I record the unit score, which is 88.4, not 87. So what you would do is when he completes this one here, you would maybe jot it down on a piece of paper so you don't forget. Send me a Facebook message and say, hey, Noah just took his Unit 5 tropical rainforest test. His unit score is whatever it is, and I've re-enrolled him in the CRX. Now, if I catch it, I will do it myself. So I'm not necessarily just pushing it off on you ladies. I'm hopping in, once or twice a day, and I record grades usually Thursday or Friday. So if I see it, I will take care of that myself. Now, the only other thing you need to know, so first of all, if you get a message that a student has completed his course, that's probably why, especially this time of year. I did have Noah Tremblay, I think it was, or David Tremblay, finish their math for the year because we started them halfway through a grade. So I enrolled them in the next grade level, and I think I only activated like 5 units. I mean, we can activate more if he gets more done. But you will get a notification that they have completed the unit or completed the course. That is the signal that you go in. Now, if you're communicating with parents, you might get a question like I just did with Mrs. Tremblay. She sent me a question. She says, it says Noah's completed his course. Well, she didn't know what was going on. So I told her no problem. I went in and I re-enrolled him and gave him his stuff. So if you have someone like Mrs. Giselskis, and she, for whatever reason, communicates with one of you and says, hey, I don't know what's going on, but it says here that Grant just finished his US history. I find that hard to believe. I am going to send them a message, but they might forget. So I'm going to alert the parents, but if they notify you and they've forgotten, it's just a matter of let me know, and I'll go in and re-enroll them, or you can. All right, so I hope this has been helpful. If you have questions, let me know. And I may do a follow-up on honor roll in particular, but this is just on CRX.